Sinner never was forgiven, banished to his lowly station, till he checks out in Revelations. Why you keep up your lie makes no sense to me. They made me a throne in heaven, and I picked hell for the...
Hi, and welcome to Ounce of Prevention. I'm Vickie Morgan, and today I'm joined by Erin Gallant. Erin, thanks so much for being on Ounce of Prevention.
Thank you for having me.
We're here in Portugal Cove, which is where Spirit Horse NL is located.
Yep.
Tell me how you got started.
Well, I've been an avid horse lover my whole life. My mother was the reason I got into horses because she had a horse, so it's her fault. I got my first pony when I was around 9, but my mom had a horse when I was 2, so I kind of grew up around it. And, you know, just became heavily involved. That was my sport. I wasn't in anything else. All my time was at the barn. And it's been my sort of career that I've made out of it. Didn't know it was going to take me down the career path, but yeah.
So, of course, the focus of Ounce of Prevention is people who have inspiring lived experience mental health stories. And you have one.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Sure. Well, when I was about 15, I started experiencing panic attacks and depression. I never even knew what a panic attack was. I thought I was having an asthma attack at school. And I started seeing therapists and medication, all the regular things. And horses have been the piece of my life that has been constant. So I always was still going to the barn, not always riding, but they have been a steady concept in my life, a stable piece of my life, which is kind of how we get to the concept of Stable Life Inc., which is our not-for-profit that we run. And I've been a coach. I got certified as a coach, and I just love coaching. But my biggest passion is helping people with horses. And most of us that have lived experience, we're empathy driven, so we want to help other people. So I began helping other people with horses just by letting them interact with them. Never really sharing my own story because I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. But I would share my horses with them. And then 6 years ago, a girl in the horse community died by suicide, and while I was the manager of a big barn, and it really hit me that, oh my God, she's gone, because I had taught her lessons, and I had helped her with her horses over time, and her name was Allison Walsh, and she was 25 when she died, and she had this horse named Tinker, and I said, well, who's going to take her horse? Because that's a big thing. She had other pets, but like a horse especially. And I probably had 7 or 8 horses at that time anyway, so what's one more? So I asked her family, could we adopt it? And they let me adopt her. And we wanted to start a program in her name.
It's interesting that you mentioned that Ellie died by suicide and that you found a way to pay tribute to her life, because we also did a show on suicide loss and the people that are left behind. And it seems to be a really fitting way to remember people, instead of just the fact that they died by suicide, but that there's a tribute to them, that there's a legacy that they've left, because people are more than those details about their lives. Tell me more about Allie.
Allie was a wonderful, young, vibrant woman who, from talking to her parents, was her dream. I'm basically helping live her dream. She'd always wanted to help people with horses. I didn't know that side of Allison, but just, because we're the same, we're peers, we both have mental health issues, so we obviously love animals and want to help people with animals. So the more I've talked with Allison's mother, Mary, I find out that this is exactly what she would have been wanting to do if she could. So it's my honor to do it for her.
So when you running a nonprofit and running a barn with how many horses are you?
We have 9.
So obviously you still have mental health struggles. It doesn't go away. There's no quick fix for it. How do you manage your self-care now that you're running? You're pretty busy.
I am pretty busy, but I have a lot of support. It's not just me that does everything that goes on. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. So the taking care of the horses and the day-to-day stuff, that's not me at all. I help with it, but I have my mom who helps a lot, and volunteers and people who own some of the horses here. So there's a huge amount of support people behind me. I sometimes say I get to do the glamorous part like this, and the helping people and going out, but making sure that I schedule time for myself. I just recently came off a month of being unwell, a new med change, and the hardest thing for me was to say I have to take a month off.
As an employer, and someone who's running something like this, there's volunteers who commit to things. And do you have any sort of approach to running a business that includes mental health? Changing the language a little bit, so if somebody is feeling unwell, that they can take time. I mean, other than taking leave yourself when you need it. Do you have any approach to that?
I just call it life happens. So if my employee is unable to come, I'm understanding, because I've been in that same place. If someone says they can do something, but then they can't, and they cancel last minute, I totally get it, because I've been that person too. Even with the peers that come and the people who come to see me, if I tell them, if you need to cancel, don't worry, because one of these days I'm gonna bail on you too for the same reason.
It's almost human.
Yeah,
it's
a human way
approach.
of looking at people. If someone's late, I don't care. If you stay 10 minutes later, or if you're not well today, but you can work from home for me in some way, then do that.
Right. That's incredible. Are you hiring?
Government will give me money, sure.
So tell me about the programs that you offer here.
So it started with very simply bringing some clients through Eastern Health up to interact with the horses in what we called horse time, which was just grooming in the middle of the freezing cold winter. I think the first day we started was about 4 years ago, and it literally was like minus 25. And nobody
showed up, right?
They came. Oh, they came. So an OT through Eastern Health, and I think she had a social worker at the time, brought some people up, and we just groomed horses and chatted. And they loved it. And then they came back next week and the following week. And then in the summer months, we would go outside and interact with the horses in the arena to do the actual Spirit Horse program, which is sort of a hands-on program where we interact with the horses to learn life skills. That's called equine-assisted learning or equine-assisted therapy. I'm not a therapist, but I am a peer supporter, so I put my own term on it. And I have to get myself trademarked, I guess, and call it equine-assisted peer support is what I offer. Oops. But it's really unique in the fact that I never have a plan for anybody, so I don't have boxes to tick. I let people check their own boxes.
Wow.
The horses...
Self-directed therapy?
Self-directed therapy. It's experiential therapy, really. You're experiencing stuff. The horses, as an element, they bring so much more to it. So in a typical Spirit Horse session, someone comes in and they interact with the horse and they lead it around and they feel empowered just from doing that. But sometimes the horse gives us little messages. In the arena, there's words on the wall. So the horse might actually take you over to a word and stand there. And I'll use that as a moment just to say, so what's that word mean to you? And sometimes it means nothing. Or then I'll say, well, what would be the next word? And I've actually seen horses drag people to a certain word. We have one sign in there that says restart, and it's never in the same place in the arena. I move it around. It's mobile. And I've witnessed a horse drag a woman across the arena to the restart button and push it with its head as we were discussing what's next for you in life. We have one sign in there that says restart, and it's never in the same place in the arena. I move it around. It's mobile. And I've witnessed a horse drag a woman across the arena to the restart button and push it with its head as we were discussing what's next for you in life.
So you're not suggesting that the horses can read?
Not suggesting they can read.
The people are reading the signs and possibly sending some sort of message to the horse.
Yeah. And the horse is
let you know.
Giving you a message too. Yeah. You have to have an open mind with it. My program is different than a lot of other programs because I bring in this concept of energy transfer as well, with my background in healing touch energy work, which that's why we feel good when we go around horses. It's why we feel good when we have a cup of coffee with a good friend. The energy that they have is good energy. Well, horses pretty much are always in this in the moment. So they're encouraging people to be in the moment, to be themselves. A horse is who it is all the time. It doesn't lie. It doesn't try to be someone else. It's just true and genuine, which is where we're all trying to get.
They don't hold grudges.
They don't hold grudges.
I've heard they don't hold grudges.
Not really, no. They're trusting animals. So we're teaching people to trust themselves, to trust others. We're teaching social appropriateness, boundaries. We're teaching, overcoming obstacles and barriers.
Yeah.
But I'm not teaching it. The horses are. I'm just there to witness it and to guide every now and then.
So what's the age group that you serve here?
I will work with anybody. I've had 2-year-olds who are struggling with, with when their moms go and going off into daycare and that being a little bit difficult for them, up to senior citizens with dementia. I've had everybody.
I've seen you guys go down to the penitentiary, and you do a lot of programs, or some programs with people who are in prison. Tell me how that works.
It's amazing, even the journey of how we got there. I had been invited to go to a services for offenders sort of fair by the John Howard Society. And I said, can I bring a horse? And I was very quickly told no. I wanted to bring my miniature horse, but so I went with my booth and, you know, met some inmates. First time I'd ever gone to prison, but jumped at the opportunity. And then when I was there, I said, why can't I bring a horse? Who said I'm not allowed to bring a horse? And I found out who, and it was the superintendent. And so I had a chat with him and convinced him that, you know, horses are not so bad, and they were having a mental health day coming up, and I said, I'd love to come and bring my miniature horse at your mental health day. Yeah. And we did.
So the concern wasn't bringing the horse, was the concern bringing the horse in? They weren't concerned about the...
what the concern was really, other than that it had never been done before. Let's put it that way.
And you bring a shovel. It's not like you're going to poop everywhere. That you clean up.
So it was just that it had never been done before. And when I say it's never been done before, I mean anywhere in Canada had never been done before. So then we went to Mental Health Day. That was a huge hit. I brought my mentor down from Ontario, and she worked with me and like really interacted with the inmates. And then I said, well, I'd like to do a program for you guys. We'll pay for it because we have some seed money that we can use. And that was that. Everyone's like, how did you get in there? I'm like, you just have to ask.
What a concept.
Yeah, you just have to ask if I can do it. And so we went once a week for 8 weeks. We have to remember this is a men's maximum security prison that we're working inside of. I bought a big red pen, or like a fenced area, so a big red pen that we put up. It's still down there out in the field. 8 inmates came out. I didn't know who was what or who'd done what. Met them. It was great. We just interacted with them. We had 2 horses. Myself, someone from Eastern Health, Danielle Hogan, who works with me, and my mentor Melanie Gray from Ontario came, and we flew her down every single week to do this program because it was groundbreaking. Yeah. And it's forever changed my life and my perspective of people, which I have a pretty open mind on people, but the first thing that when the inmates would come out, they want to do is touch the horse. These are men.
Grown men.
You don't expect to see this, you know, so I'd only ever seen prison on television. Right. First thing they do is want to touch it, and can I hug it? Yes. Because there's no human contact in prison. There's no hugging in prison. There's no hugging your wife. There's no hugging your kids. So can I touch it? Can I hug it?
Which sounds, I mean, if you've had a crime committed against you, it's like, yeah, that's what they deserve. But when you have a brother or cousin or parent in prison, you want to make sure that they're eating and that they have something to keep their mental health from completely breaking off.
90% of the people that were there that we dealt with have mental health issues and addiction issues. Of course
and
a lot of that stuff stems from their adverse childhood experiences. Absolutely. I'm not saying that any of the crimes that they did were okay. Right. And, you know, I've met all types. And but they deserve a chance.
And seeing the value of what they are, sounds like what they're receiving from this is, that's got to be pretty empowering.
My favorite moment ever in prison was in our second time. We went back for the second session because we just went back because we love what we're doing. And it was a beautiful, I think it was September afternoon. And you have to remember, you don't go outside a lot in prison.
Yeah, right.
So some of these people had not been outside this long in months. Right. So we're outside for 2 hours, and it was around the last part of our session. And I wanted the guys to work on getting the horses to come to us, but the challenge was they couldn't touch them. They couldn't go round them up with like ropes or anything. So at first they all stood in the middle of the arena and they called out to them. And the horses started running around and going everywhere, and it was loud and they weren't coming to them. And then one of the guys said, let's sit down. So they all have, here we are, sitting in this beautiful lush pasture that they have at HMP, sitting in the sun. Horses are eating the grass and they're not coming to us. They're looking at us, but they're still not coming to us. And this one guy says, I'm going to try something. I'm like, okay, what are you going to try? He says, I'm going to roll out across the grass to the horse. And I was like, all right, you've signed a waiver. And, you know, my horse Wiz was the horse that he was going out to. And Wiz has got a bit of a spunky personality sometimes. And I said, well, I have to trust in this process here. Yeah. And he rolled across the grass, and it was just like something out of a movie where Wiz kind of picked his head up and leaned over and sniffed his face, and he's looking up, sniffing him, and I'm turning around, sniffling, saying, no crying in prison. Like, and I said, so what was that like for you? It's like, I trusted him and he trusted me.
Welcome back to Ounce of Prevention. Again, I'm Vickie Morgan, and this is Erin Gallant. And Erin was just about to tell me about peer support programs here at Spirit Horse NL. Erin, tell me about peer support here.
Sure. So what peer support means is two people who have lived experience sharing experience, coping strategies. I am a certified peer supporter with Peer Support Canada. I had worked as a peer supporter before at another local agency called Channel and loved it. It was my dream job. And then wanted to somehow tie that back in with horses. I had gotten unwell and was unable to work anymore at Channel, and figured out that working with horses is what keeps me well. Being in the barn is what keeps me well. So I had to figure out a way, how am I going to do this? So I then decided, okay, well, I'll just start offering sessions with people that's peer support and equine assisted therapy. Or whatever you want to call it, learning. And then I went on to decide that I want to get certified as a peer supporter. And peer support is transformational in people's lives. When you have someone who can look at you and say, well, I understand because I've experienced something very similar, or you can, share a coping strategy, or even just to have someone listen who's not going to judge, who's not going to tell you what to do or what you should do, who's not going to say, well, if you just did this, you'll be doing better. Instead, they might just stay completely silent. Right. So there's so valuable.
It's very different from someone sitting behind a desk and filling out something on a pad and judging, which is really what it feels like when somebody's, you know what you need to do.
Yeah. There's no judgment. Everybody's equal. There's no hierarchy between me and a peer who comes. And when you tie horses into that, it's even better. There's no hierarchy between me and my horses, the way that I work with my horses, that I want us to be partners and on the equal level. So the horse sometimes becomes a bit of a enticement of why people come here to receive peer support, but that's what's different about my program, and what can't be recreated through any other program is the fact that I'm going to share my story with you. You can share your story with me if you're comfortable. The horses are here. We're going to learn from the horses as well as they pick up on what's going on with us, which is like well documented and proven. And so then we just have this magical thing happen where people immediately feel comfortable. I've had people open up and share things with me that they've never told the social worker that they're coming with, and they can't believe the things that they're telling me, or the steps forward that people have taken that they would never believe that they would do. I had one woman go through a program, and within 8 or 10 weeks she had gone from really struggling to having gainful employment, which was something she was not expecting. And when she first came, she was afraid of the horses. She said, I'm not going to touch the horses, I'm afraid. Wow. And she's no longer afraid. Wow. So,
once the program is done, they've done 8 or 10 weeks. Do they get attached to the horses?
They do, and we get attached to the people too because we want to know how they're doing. And of course, keeping professional boundaries, we can't be like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Well, I can a little bit because I'm a peer. I'm a peer.
Absolutely,
I can check in on people if they give me consent to do that. Right. But yes, I invite people. I blur that line. A lot of the books and on how you do this sort of equine assisted stuff would say that once your program's over, that's it. You're done. That's really tough for people. I say, okay, once you can come as often as you want. If you want it to come once a week forever and take sessions, you can, but sometimes there's no therapeutic value left in it then. Right. So I provide opportunities for people if they want to volunteer, or we have days where you can drop in and visit just to get the smell of horse on you, or just to meet your favorite guy. Yeah. That's why sometimes on social media and stuff, I post lots of pictures of the horses and people comment and, they feel connected. Absolutely. Even if they're not there. But yeah, I blur the lines. I try to keep healthy boundaries, but I blur the lines on what I'll allow people to come back for, because it's if it was a big part of your life and it stops, then you grieve it. So, and I've seen people grieve the loss of no longer having their therapist. Absolutely.
You also do healing touch and have taken a step back a little bit from that. Yeah. People in healing work a lot of times get pretty burnt out. Yeah. Do the horses get tired?
Yes. I take care of my horses' mental health and welfare incredibly well. They're outside a lot. Mm-hmm. That's one of my biggest concerns, is that they're not going to be peopled out.
Right.
I get peopled out. So, you know, in my past life, I was a riding coach and had a riding school and managed that stuff. And the horses would get sour. And we give them a week off, but my horses get way more than that off. Okay. When I took a month off, they took a month off. Yeah. Their basic needs were met. They were groomed and cared for, but they're picking up on some intense emotion and stuff too, and they need out in the field time. So we're so glad that the sun is shining, because now the horses, out you go at like 8 and 9 in the morning, get out and don't come back in until the sun goes down. And sometimes we don't even touch the horses in the program. Sometimes the horses stay in the field and we just kind of go out and...
And you don't ride the horses in the programs?
Riding is possible if it's the only way I'm going to reach someone.
Okay.
I've had some people, because I'm a certified riding coach and I kind of go to the beat of my own drum with my program, there's nothing that says I can't put someone on. So I'm fully qualified to do that.
Right.
I've had some people where I can't connect with them. I mean, with severe PTSD and complex PTSD, where I can't connect. Like, there's nothing. Do you want to brush the horse? And then, do you want to do this? And so, do you want to ride? Yes. Okay. We're going somewhere here, you know? So
good to know.
Yeah. So because if you set up and say, well, there's no riding in my program, you immediately take
a choice away.
Take a choice away and put up a barrier. So that's why, for me, that doesn't work for me.
But it's not a therapeutic riding program.
No.
Okay.
And it's not therapy you're receiving. I do have a background in recreation therapy that I've never really used other than now. That's what I did in school.
Always full of surprises.
Yeah, always with the intent of running something with horses. But I didn't know where it was going to take me. But sometimes people come and they just want to sit on the horse, and I put them on the horse and they just walk around. So my horses have the life of luxury.
So you've had an absolute ton of education towards helping people in like the service. Yeah. These sorts of professions, and then also brought your own story to it and have found a way to put it all together.
Yes.
And also keep yourself well.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely inspiring.
What does it feel like for you to be standing in the middle of it?
Like a dream come true and terrifying at the same time.
Kind of how life can be.
Oh my God.
You're fine. Trust yourself.
Oh my God, they're answering. Hi. Hey, whoa. Can I play with this horse, please?
Let him go away.
Go away. Go, not this way. Go this way. Go this way, please. Go. Go.
Come on, Liz.
Hi. Her cheeks are so cute.
She's very strong.
Hey.
Strong jawbones. Roxy.
So around the fences, there's an electrified wire. Why is that?
That's so the horses don't knock fences down.
That's it?
Yep. Horses, grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So the wire is to stop the horses from leaning on the fence and knocking the fences down or pushing the fences down.
Is it enough to hurt somebody?
No. I mean, I've tested it more than once.
It'll give you a little jolt.
Give you a good jolt. It goes in 3 pulses. The third one is really good. But if
it starts off kind of mild?
Yeah. If you're holding a horse who's got metal shoes on and you hit the fence by accident, it's extra good. It feels, sometimes it feels just like ow. And then other times it feels like someone jolted you in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not like a security thing, you know?
No, not at all. It's just to stop the horses from knocking the fence down. And they can sense with their whiskers and stuff that's got electricity pulsing through it, and they don't touch it.
And do they learn? Like, do they do it a second time?
No.
Okay.
But they do know. They can tell if it's not working. They'll knock it down.
Really?
Yeah.
So they must check it to see if it's not working.
Yeah,
I was just know that from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, my horse Andy, the one standing here covered in mud, he used to go around and he'd just walk up and down the fence line at another barn, and then he'd figure out where it's not working and he'd just lean on the fence and destroy it.
No way. So did they jump over the fence?
They haven't. They haven't. All the hay helps say, stay here, please.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So they have a pretty fantastic life. There's no saddle sores on them. There's not even an imprint of a saddle on them.
No, most of these haven't had a saddle on them in a few months.
No.
Even though we have an inside place where we can ride.
Yeah.
Wiz gets ridden a little bit, but it's not the primary focus of what we do. Some of these horses are arthritic and have some lameness issues, and there's so much more they have left to give. So I could retire them or sell them or whatever, but I'm not going to do that. So it's the same as us. When we get things with us, we have to find new purpose sometimes, and that's sometimes what these horses show people. Even old Andy, who's 40 years old, still has purpose. So it's finding your purpose is really important, I think, in the recovery process, and doing that somehow can be very helpful.
I never would have looked at horses that way. Ever. It's amazing.
Suffer now, you prince of sorrows. Here's good and evil out the window. Your weekend dad succumbed to pressure. He's out for smokes and gone forever. Why you keep up your lie makes no sense to me. There may be a throne in heaven.
You never know where we're going to end up.
Tell for